Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift happening inside one of the biggest militaries on the planet. We're talking about an organization with over 1 million active personnel. We're going to unpack a reform that completely rewires how a nation builds its armed forces. It's a really fascinating topic, so let's just jump right in. So think about this for a second. How exactly do you go about modernizing a massive legacy military force? It's honestly a giant strategic puzzle that defense experts all over the world are grappling with right now. Today, we're looking directly at the source material to unpack India's exact blueprint for doing just that. Section 1. Introducing the Agniveer Yojana. All right, so this reform, which is widely known as the Agnipath scheme, was officially introduced back in 2022 by the government of India. And listen, this wasn't just some small-scale pilot program. It was a massive, sweeping change implemented across 3 major branches: the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. It represents a fundamental pivot in how the nation brings fresh talent into its ranks. At the very heart of this policy, you've got the Agniveers. These are the candidates selected to step up and serve under this completely new model. And their commitment? It's exactly 4 years. Oh, and actually, a really important detail here is that this 4-year window includes their initial training phase, too. Now, the whole driving strategy behind this overhaul basically boils down to 3 main goals. From the government's perspective, they want to build a military that is younger, fitter, and highly technologically capable. It's a direct response to the rapidly changing landscape of global defense. They're aiming to inject youth and agility right into the armed forces. Moving on to Section 2, the 4-year service cycle. 4 years. That highly specific, hyper-focused time frame is literally the central pillar of the entire policy. Everything about this scheme, the training, the deployment, the eventual transition, it all completely revolves around this strict 4-year clock. But, those 4 years aren't just about serving. They're basically an intensive developmental boot camp. Agniveers are totally immersed in an environment that builds serious discipline, unwavering confidence, and real teamwork. We're talking peak physical fitness, highly specialized technical skills, and hands-on leadership experience. It is highly concentrated work experience. So you might be wondering, why limit it to just 4 years? Well, it's all about keeping the force youthful and agile. The idea is that a military with a younger average age is going to be more physically resilient and way more adaptable to modern warfare, especially with how fast new technologies are rolling out. This short-term service directly feeds into the military's much larger modernization strategy. Which brings us to Section 3, the post-service crossroads. Now here is where we hit the real defining mechanism of the whole scheme. After those 4 years are up, there's a major split. Up to 25% of these Agniveers might be selected to stay on for permanent, regular military service. But the remaining 75%, the vast majority, they will transition out of the armed forces entirely and head back to civilian life. And making it into that 25% is definitely not a lottery. It is incredibly competitive. It's based on 3 strict criteria: the individual's proven merit during their service, the specific organizational needs of the military at that exact moment, and of course, the actual number of vacancies available. For the 75% transitioning out, it's a pretty intense crossroads. On the one hand, they leave with this dedicated save-a-nitty financial package and a super elite set of skills. But on the other hand, they are immediately facing the daunting reality of starting over in the civilian job market, because only a fraction stays in regular service. The rest have a very real-world need to secure civilian employment. When you think about taking tens of thousands of militarily trained young people and reintegrating them into the civilian workforce every single year, well, that is a monumental task. Ensuring a smooth transition is a huge focus area. It absolutely requires broad societal cooperation, support from various levels of government, public sector organizations, and crucially, private companies stepping up. To help smooth out this massive transition, a bunch of safety nets are being put into place. We're seeing various state governments and corporate entities announcing civilian support initiatives. This includes things like formal skill certifications for their military training, dedicated job opportunities, and specialized career support programs. Ultimately, it's going to be a real test of how well the private and public sectors can absorb this unique talent pool. And that leads us to Section 4, Impact on National Security.
Ultimately, the whole national security rationale here is about sustained operational effectiveness. By constantly cycling in fresh youth and keeping that average age profile low, the military is ensuring its soldiers are optimally prepared for the intense physical and technological demands of modern military operations.
It helps to think of this whole policy as a continuous national life cycle loop. Step 1, you recruit young, motivated citizens. Step 2, you instill that deep military discipline, leadership, and technical know-how. And then Step 3, you strengthen the nation's security apparatus while simultaneously pumping highly skilled, experienced young people back into society. It's a system designed to benefit both the military structure and the broader civilian workforce. However, looking impartially at the reality of this experiment, a reform of this massive scale really hinges on two main things. First, the effective implementation of the policy itself. And second, continuous, robust support for the Agniveers during and especially after their service. The success of that transition phase back to civilian life is literally just as crucial as the military training phase itself. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question to end on. Will this four-year model actually become the future blueprint for global defense forces everywhere? It's a massive structural experiment in military modernization and youth employment, and honestly, only time will tell how it reshapes the landscape of national defense. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.